All of the bundled amendments, I would say, are currently still being challenged. This one was removed, I believe, just a couple weeks ago. And some are have the argument of them being bundled. They're covering one issue, and you as a voter, regardless of the issue, feel good or not, you're being asked to vote yes or no on something, on maybe two or different issues that you have different opinions about. That's why they're being challenged. 8 in particular was tossed out mainly because of what it didn't said. Some felt deceptive language, so it's not necessarily the issue, is it clear, concise, that citizen initiatives as well as the legislature have to follow the CRC, Constitutional Revision Commission, doesn't actually have to follow that. So they are being challenged. It might be a last minute if we see, it looks like this is the only one that's actually been struck from our ballot, but the other ones are still being challenged. I believe it's up till September 22nd is the supervisor of elections' last day they've requested.
September 22nd or October?
Oh,
No, September 22nd is gone.
Yeah, that was when they needed, it was September 22nd, when they needed a final because they start sending ballots to military overseas. All right, Amendment 8, we'll just skip right over there. So you can just scratch that off your sheet. Amendment 9, and just so you know, when you're voting on your ballot, if amendment has been struck from the ballot, they don't renumber. They just skip that number. So you'll see Amendment 7, and then you'll see Amendment 9. So it doesn't get too more confusing. Amendment 9 also came from the Constitutional Revision Commission. This would prohibit offshore drilling, offshore oil and gas drilling, and restrict vaping in indoor workplaces. So again, a couple issues within an amendment.
Who decides how they combine these amendments?
So we have 3 ways. Well, in our current ballot, we're going to see some from the legislature and some from citizen initiatives, and most recently the Constitutional Revision Commission, or CRC, they meet every 20 years, and they put forth numbers 6 through 13. And they put forth, it's not, well, they put forth some bundled amendments that you're seeing here. They did not have to follow the rules like a citizen initiative or the legislature, where it has to be clear and concise and set a minimum of 75 words or less. So they did this 20 years ago, and so maybe after this go around we'll fix that. So Amendment 9. I think I have a little background. Okay, again, offshore drilling and vaping in workplaces. So offshore drilling is of great concern to voters and Floridians, especially since we have seen what can happen in other areas of the Gulf Coast. We have lots of current constitutional prohibitions about smoking in workplaces. So again, 2 different things. A vote yes would apply constitutional restrictions to drilling only to waters under state control, not to waters under federal control. Would not affect the shipping of gas and oil on Florida waters, and would add restrictions to the Constitution on the use of electronic vaping devices, largely mirroring current constitutional restrictions on indoor workplace smoking. It would create exceptions for vaping use in private homes, bars, hotel rooms, designated for vaping. A vote no could signal to the federal government that Floridians don't care about offshore drilling in their waters, and would keep vaping out of the Constitution.
So currently, the non-smoking laws don't apply to the electronic ones?
Yeah, well, there's kind of a debate on that.
Okay.
Like, not necessarily, but some could argue, well, it could very well, but that's an ongoing debate. Supporting and opposing organizations.
What? The Wildlife Federation supports it?
I think, and this is one of those examples where I'm again not getting into the justification or why opposing or supporting. It's covering the most important aspect of the amendment.
Oh, I'm understanding now. I was thinking backwards. Never mind.
Amendment 10. State and local government structure and operation. Requires the legislature in even years, election years, to start sessions in January. Create Office of Domestic Security and Counterterrorism. Mandates existence of State Department of Veterans Affairs. And force all counties to elect and never abolish offices of sheriff, tax collector, property appraiser, supervisor of elections, and clerk of courts. Notes on Amendment 10, our Constitution currently stipulates odd number years session must start in March. State law currently designates the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, or FDLE, as lead agency in coordinating efforts to combat terrorism. This proposal creates a new department within FDLE in support of all other agencies' anti-terrorism efforts. Constitution already authorizes Department of Veteran Affairs. This would make it mandatory. And the Florida Constitution requires that these offices exist in counties. So the constitutional officers that were just listed, they're mainly affects like 5 counties in the state, but they're referred as constitutional offices. This measure mandates the election of these offices in each county. Florida counties are divided by charter and non-charter counties. Charter counties are voter-approved documents that act much like local constitutions. They outline how the county is governed. So this would make it enshrined in the Constitution that all counties have to have these offices regardless of the size and so forth. A vote yes would fix the date of legislative sessions in those years, create an Office of Domestic Security and Counterterrorism, force the legislature to always have a Department of Veteran Affairs, force all Florida counties to elect these officers. A vote no would continue to allow the legislature to set these dates for when an even number of years. Reject mandated Office of Security and Counterterrorism. Reject mandated Department of Veteran Affairs, and allow Florida's charter counties to continue determining how they run their local offices.
Just for your information, Clay County is a charter county.
Alright. Supporting and opposing organizations.